Hey everyone, I do not go live very often on my Facebook profile. I do it some on the page, and I really kind of hesitated whether I should share this video on my profile or the page, but as nervous as I am about this particular video, I wanted to go ahead and do it because the nudging to do so hasn't left me. And so putting myself out there, kind of something that I've been doing all year long. In the text part of this video, I mentioned that the word of the year that I felt that God had given me was flourish, but then rise come to the surface, and I actually thought that was my word of the year. It was actually my friend's word of the year, but it kept coming up, and God was showing me different visions of getting up on stage and speaking and going out and doing the things. And to be honest, that feels really weird and awkward. I want to be able to speak and share life-giving messages and messages around emotional health and soul care that help people live a freer life, that cultivate life within them. That is my heart, soul, passion. It is something that God has brought together from years of studying psychology and counseling topics, and then going through all kinds of different personal circumstances and healing as well, from PTSD and depression, anxiety, self-harm, eating disorders, been through the ringer on several different things, and God has brought tremendous freedom and healing, particularly in the last few years, although it was incredibly painful. So I'm super passionate about sharing that and sharing the work that I do and the Unleash sheets that God, I believe, had given me this gift of a tool that helps facilitate hearing from Him and processing hard things. I talk about processing life's challenges with God, learning how to hear and respond, and that's something that I'm super excited about. At the same time, getting up on stage or just putting myself out there, hey, I'm available to speak, just felt like it doesn't feel great, because you don't want to be making this all about you, and you want someone else. A lot of speakers and writers want this, I believe. So I think I speak for more people than just me. So if you know of others in your circles, I pray that you would also consider this, that there are several people who have a message, but they don't want to be the one to say, hey, I have this message. They need to work on that, just like I need to work on that, to let people know what they have that's available for other people. But they kind of want someone else to also draw them out and say, hey, I've noticed that you have this passionate message, and I would like you to speak or to offer something. So anyway, note on that. I have put myself out there this year with doing some Unleash events. We started the year with a soul care retreat for writers. No, it was a writers retreat called Unleash the Writer Within, and we did this virtually online. I'm still working to make it available for like a retreat to go package. I just haven't gotten to that yet. I have other things that I've chosen to do, but I will get to that at some point. And then I did a soul care retreat locally, which we had room for up to 24 people, I think. It ended up being a very small retreat with just my community group, and it was amazing. And God showed me through that time that not only did I have a message, but that God was going to work through it to bring healing and revelation and just greater spiritual connection to Him, not because I said anything great or did anything great, but because I made myself available. I know a lot of us as believers struggle with that. We have these gifts, and we don't want to be prideful, but at the same time, if we don't ever tell anybody that we have this and that it's available, then we're hiding it. And we're basically saying, no, what you've given me isn't any good, Lord. I keep thinking of that song, Learn It in Childhood. Maybe you guys know that one too, about this little gospel line, and it's talking about the good news of God. And there's a line there that says, hide it under a bushel. No. And you keep saying that you're not going to hide it under a bushel. Well, what about our gifts and our talents? We shouldn't be hiding those under a bushel either. Those are part of the good news of God when we're actually using the gifts that He's given us, and we are stepping forward in that, as scary as it is. And even though we're going to make mistakes, and then trusting God in those times of making mistakes. I'm going to be talking about this further with my Rise Up Writers community today, because I did a post on 10 ways to reduce platform tension that feels icky, because a lot of Christian communicators, writers and speakers, they have so much to offer, but they get blocked or kind of stopped because they don't want to self-promote. They don't want it to be all about them. But then you see people that are lifted up to these celebrity statuses. And if you think about some of the recent news and more people saying that they're kind of leaving the faith, that's a whole nother discussion. But we need to be a people that each of us is diving into our relationship with God, facing the hard things in life that are either maybe circumstances that we keep hoping will change that aren't changing at the time, but holding on to the hope of what could happen while facing the pain and reality of today. We need to be a people that allow God into our emotional experiences, because a lot of us have emotional scripts that tell us that it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to get angry, where we have experiences in our past that are keeping us from being able to express those emotions. And by doing that, a few different things can happen, which these terms are kind of going around these days, which is hyper spirituality and spiritual bypassing. And it's basically a form of pride to say, I got this, I already know what I need to do, and I'm going to say the verses, but deep down, it's not really impacting you. Only you can really know, and the Spirit can work in each of our lives to help reveal areas of denial and pride, and even trying to do better and get better as a believer, rather than admitting the struggle, the challenge, the hard feeling, because that hard feeling doesn't mean you're going to stay in it forever. But when we admit it and allow God to speak into it, then we have an opportunity for such amazing experiences with God, his actual peace, joy, and freedom that we long for, that we talk about. If we keep denying it and saying, well, I'm good, I got this verse, then I'm just going to pretend like I'm actually not feeling bad. That level of denial just keeps us from experiencing God. And so I am really passionate about that. And that is one of the reasons that I've put myself out there to do the different retreats and then to do the Unleashed Experience events that were kind of based off of some of the topics that I did for the retreat when I was traveling this summer in July. And I customized some of those topics. So I'm still kind of fine tuning what the full content would be. I like to have some leeway to pray about the groups that I speak to and what is actually going to minister to their hearts, and then trust God that even if I think I didn't get it all down just right or whatever, that he's going to use that experience, because we use the Unleashed tool and guide people through a process of identifying things in their lives that are basically hindering their faith, hindering their ability to experience more of God's peace, joy, and freedom. And so I am continuing to put myself out there. I felt a couple years ago that God wanted me to speak to small groups, and so I'm trying to figure out ways that I can do that nationally without always having to travel, and that would be something that would be through the same platform that I use to sell Unleashed sheets. And I have a couple people that are interested, and so if you're not local to the Austin area and you're interested in testing out what that would look like with your small group, or maybe like a 4 to 6 week or even just a single night event, I would love to have conversations with you, and maybe I can set a meeting with a few different people so that I can kind of come up with something that would serve you well. In the meantime, here locally, I want to put myself out there and say, I'm available to speak to your small groups. Now, that could be like your church small group or a gathering that you get together at your church. It could be your neighborhood. I will go into homes of people that I feel really comfortable with. I prefer it to be a public place that but it's going to be tough because that's 3 hours that we need 2 to 3 hours. 2 is a bare minimum and 3 is preferable for these particular events. And what we do is I'll do a 30-minute talk, and then I'll teach how to use the tool, and then we'll use question prompts based off the talk that I do. And each person who attends will have an opportunity to use the tool and experience God, and then practice being safe community for one another. And then they can choose whether or not they want to buy the tool later or whatever. I'm willing to do these for love offerings right now, and especially because I am planning another trip. I am planning to go to Geneva, Switzerland, which I know sounds super fancy and amazing, but it was actually less expensive to go to Geneva than to Dallas to do the same intensive that I'm going to. And I've been really praying about what to attend, because writers and speakers have all kinds of opportunities out there as far as conferences and retreats. And I didn't do anything last year, and it's always a tight financial decision. It's always a big challenge because some of them can be so expensive. And then you add the travel, and you add the lodging, and you add the food, and it adds up really. This particular one is in YWAM in I think it's actually Bertigny, whatever. It's in Geneva, Switzerland. And so it's super affordable with the intensive, the lodging, and the food that's all included for 1 week. And so I'm putting myself out there and I'm going. I've made the arrangements to go. I don't actually have all the finances for it and really need to raise the funds to cover the cost, and then also to for cosplay to see some friends in London on the way there and on the way back. And I know that I don't even want to bring it up because it sounds like something that's so amazing and everybody wants to get a chance to do something like that. But I am putting it out there that I'm selling some things which you may or may not be interested in. I have a Bosch Universal machine that I'm selling, ice cream maker, and my Canon Rebel T2i I'm selling because I don't use that anymore, all to help raise funds. But I also want to put myself out there to do some of these speaking events, and I'm hoping for 4, 6 at the most in the next 6 to 7 weeks. So before like the first week of October or something, where you bring together a group, and it can be in your church or it can be a group that you bring together. And I don't have a specific minimum on it. I'm hoping for at least 6, but I've had groups of 14 to 24 where we would do this and we would talk about which topics. A couple examples of those topics include clearing the clutter to hear from God, and kind of the things that block us from actually experiencing his presence. Another one could be emotional scripts and emotional experiences that keep us from experiencing emotionally healthy living, which impacts our spiritual growth and our ability to really live by the Spirit. Third topic is unleashing the past so that you can live well in the present. And again, these are some different topics that we can fine tune a little bit, but I'm hoping that by doing some of these events and doing a love offering, that it will help cover some of the costs for the Geneva trip and the writing intensive. And what you guys may not know, which I've done another video on my YouTube channel that talks about this specifically, is that most writers and speakers and Christian creatives are paying to serve you. Not only are they not getting paid, they are actually paying sometimes hundreds to $1,000s a month for email services, website hosting, social media content. And then when you're doing something like me, and I manage 2 different audiences, plus I have the courses and tools, the only way that's actually going to go from a little bit out at a time to getting some real good consistency is if I have help. And I cannot pay for help. I do not have the income to pay for help. I'm actually still paying more than I make in income on a monthly basis. And so I don't put that out there to be like, put guilt on anybody. I just want to be honest because I know a lot of people don't talk about it. And it's important that we recognize that we just ask God, who is somebody in your life that provides great content? Maybe it's even somebody who just ministers to you. They spend a lot of time with you and that takes them out of their day. Maybe you want to gift them some kind of a gift or something. But specifically, if you know of writers and speakers that are out there and they're putting themselves out there frequently, just consider that most of them, unless they're high-level names with huge platforms and big books, even those who are authors and they're putting out 2 or 3 books, they aren't necessarily making money off of that. What people don't realize is that that is not a money-making venture unless that's a whole other topic. But generally, it's not the big money-making thing. So all writers and creatives have to find other ways to bring in income. It could be fundraising, and that's why Patreon has become a big thing, because if you think about patrons back in the old days, the artists, they had to have a patron because they couldn't work a normal job where they were getting paid. But in order to get to a place where their art was worthwhile and making enough income, which could take years, they needed somebody who saw the vision, who believed in the work that they were doing and could help financially support them so they could live, so they could produce the content. And so I share that honestly because just most people just don't know. And maybe you are able to bless somebody today, whether it's me or someone else. I know it would be a blessing to them to know that, hey, you believe in my work, even though encouragement is super powerful. $5, a gift, a coffee card, something. But just to know that a lot of people are putting this money out there and they're doing it because they love what they do. They believe God has given them a vision to do it. And that's what they want to do. But sometimes we have to make sacrifices in other areas, taking extra jobs and doing other, or we can't put out as much as we want. We can't serve in some of the ways that we want to because the budget is there. Some of my friends need new equipment. I know I've talked to people who've had computers that are almost a decade old and they aren't functioning for what they need. I was in that place a couple of years ago. My hard drive completely went kaput and I really didn't have the money to replace the computer, but I needed it because I wasn't able to do the work. So it was a challenge to figure out what to do. So anyway, I just want to put that out there. If God leads you to either do some financial support for me or for another person, or if you think that this Unleash Sheets event would be something that you would like to help facilitate in your church or in your neighborhood or in a small group that you lead of some other kind, please get in touch with me. I would love to talk to you further about it and see what we can arrange to provide either a one-night experience. And then also, if you're not in the Austin, Texas area or reasonable driving distance from here, then let me know something that you want to do either as a one-time or a 4 to 6 week group thing, and we could talk about group ideas. And I need your input. I don't really know how to move forward in something that I have some ideas. I want to get some input before I put something together that says, yep, here's the package, here's how much it is. And then people look at that price and they go, oh my gosh, we can't do that. I have ideas around it because I do believe that this content is super valuable. The Unleash Sheets are $35, which is less than half of most counseling sessions, a third or less than a third of most counseling sessions to get a decent counseling. It helps you connect with the Holy Spirit counselor who is so rich with wisdom and will help you process hard things, will help you face challenging decisions. It will help you just grow more connected to God. And I believe in that product. If you want something that's free, you can go to my site at joleneunderwood.com. I currently have a freebie available there. It's called a Cultivate Connection. It's a one sheet. It is free. You can just download it and it'll help you connect to God and His Word in a new way. And so I hope that's beneficial to you. It won't be free very, very long, probably a few months, but I will be putting that as a paid product later. So if you're interested in it, please make sure to go ahead and get it now. And if you can pray, I am in the process of putting together my book proposal. The Studying Intensive is with Mary DeMuth. She had her 30-something book come out yesterday called We Too. It's We Too, How the Church Can Respond Redemptively to the Sexual Abuse Crisis. Can't wait to read that book. She's doing so much amazing work, and I'm going to get some really good small group hands-on help because I have books that I believe God wants me to write, and that the message in it is going to help other people live freer and experience not just head knowledge of God's Spirit, but a heart change to where things are able to go from the things that you want to do to the way that you can actually live differently. And so I believe in these books. And if you believe in me and the work that I'm doing, I would love your encouragement. I'd love your prayers. I'd love your financial support if you're able to give it. It is really scary for me to ask that because I overthink. I also think of all the people with all the needs. And so I just leave it before you. And if that's something that God puts on your heart, I would be super honored. And I would love to speak to your small group with Unleash Heart and Soul Care Sheets if you guys have any questions. Thank you for letting me know that you hear me. And meeting at church and in marriage, I am so with you on that. This tool has helped me walk through some really, really hard steps and process levels of healing and experience God in ways that it blows me away, to be honest. It blows me away that He gave me something that in some ways seems so simple, but is really rich. And the more I read, the more I realize it's backed by science. It is part of the components of what lots of counselors and coaches do to help people. And so I've grown to believe with all my heart and mind that it is so valuable and so rich and so needed. And I'm excited to get it out there more. And I look forward to hearing from you guys in the future. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today.